Can the zone defense really, truly be your primary defense? Will Hardy think so? Jazz are playing like it. We'll dig in and see what we think. All next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, and I've decided bucket hat is our happy hat this year. It is the bucket hat after a super good win over the Brooklyn Nets last night. So we're doing happy hat. We had a happy hat. This was the happy hat. We might have to have a vote here, but let me set up the show, and then we can have a vote. Today's edition of Locked on Jazz, we're going to dig into 4 games of zone defense, understand how much the Jazz are playing compared to the rest of the league, try to figure out whether we think this is a viable answer for your defense. Then look at improvement is important, which for the everydayers is yesterday's show topic. Colin Sexton and Talen Horton-Tucker were absolutely fabulous. Walker Kessler played super well last night. Also, and bring back Power Rank Tuesday, taking a look at the rest of the league. I am David Locke, the radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available on all podcasting apps, as well as to the everydayers. You are the best. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I just use Game Time to buy my Christmas present for myself. Okay, for those of you on YouTube, you can decide whether this, the Gilligan bucket hat, white with Locked on it, or this should be the happy hat of the year. This was last year's happy hat. This might be this year's. You tell me. I'm at your beck and call. All right, good win last night. Really, impressive. They all sorts of defenses whipped out there by Will Hardy and the crew. 5th game of a road trip for the Nets. But Jazz are frankly in the midst of an 11-game road trip. Like that, there's no other way to look at it. You play 2 on the road, 1 at home. You just keep playing 1 at home. They feel like road games. And they broke their will last night. They broke their will in the 4th quarter last night, and they were really, really good. And the zone defense is causing people problems. And last night, what jumped out to me was it got Walker Kessler to be impactful again. In the 1st quarter, when Walker was on the floor, the Nets shooting in the paint, which I don't love this number. I really care about rim, not paint, but I do think Walker was impacting a lot of shots. They were 2 of 8 when Walker was on the floor. They finished 4 of 13. But they were in the 1st quarter, they're just 1 of 4 at the rim. So you're not getting the rim against the zone very much at that point. In the 2nd quarter, they're just 2 of 3 at the rim. In the 3rd quarter, they're 1 of 5 at the rim. In the 4th quarter, they're 2 of 2 at the rim. So for the night last night, the Nets were 6 of 14 at the rim. And what jumped out to me last night was something that I really strongly believe in, which is secondary rim defense was prevalent throughout the entire game. The Jazz really did a wonderful job of having secondary rim defense coming. In other words, your big guy comes up, and then John Collins or Ochai Agbaji or Taylor Hendricks comes around the backside and makes a defensive play that alters the shot. So I want to look at what our metrics are 4 games into playing the zone and see, we're going to do this kind of together. I have scanned it, but we're going to see what the impact is. We've done this, we've only had 14, so we don't have the biggest sample size. And it is worth noting that Brooklyn is 21st in the league at getting the rim, but they take 31% of their shots at the rim regularly. So last night they took 14 of their 90 shots at the rim. That's not anywhere close. You could go fatigue. I'm going to go zone. The Jazz just disrupted their zone. They took 16% of their shots at the rim last night. That's high-level chain bending a shot chart. And for those everydayers that have been around me for a long time, what I care most about is your shot distribution, defensive shot distribution. Because I think that's actually the answer. The other part, they're 6 of 14. So they were in the 7th percentile of all amount of attempts at the rim, and they were in the 2nd percentile of scoring at the rim. I asked Will Hardy before the game, I was like, Will, league averages 3 zone possessions a night. The best team in the league is playing 10, or the most, Miami. Before your Zonapalooza, which he is just on right now, depending on possession charts that you look at, we played 56 against the Knicks. The next night, we played 53 against Portland. Then we played 39 against Sacramento, played 37 zone possessions last night. It's the 1st, 2nd, 7th, and 8th most of any team in any game all year. We've almost played more zone in the last 4 games, 200 possessions almost, than anybody else has played all season long. The other one that's just crazy about this, by the way, is of the other top 10 zones, only the Brooklyn Nets, who played some zone last night, have 2 times where they were in the top 10. If you go to the top 15, only the Heat and the Lakers have 2 of the top 15. The Jazz have 4 now. In other words, if someone else is playing zone, they're doing it kind of as a one-off on a given night for a weird reason. We're like just playing it. Boxing 1. Looks like a 1-3-1. Looks like a 2-3. Will said last night they're only playing 2 zones right now. One of them is certainly a box and 1. He said a third one is in. And Will said he thinks it's the right defense for them. He said I asked him, be your primary defense. After dead balls and after made shots, he sees no reason why the zone can't be your primary defense. Pretty crazy. I mean, no one in the league's tried this. So let's look. 4 games in. Right, we're going to look at since December 12th. It's not the greatest look ever. And this includes a Keegan Murray explosion. We're now the 15th, 11th ranked defense in the NBA in the last 4 games. Okay, small sample size. We're 11th against the shot. We're 14th in turnovers. We're now 28th in defensive rebounding. Okay. And we're 6th in free throw rate. There are 2 primary reasons why people don't play zone. And the 2 primary reasons why people don't play zone are 1, you can't rebound out of it, and 2, you allow too many corner threes. Last night, we played the team was the 3rd most proficient team in the NBA at shooting the corner 3, and we only allowed 1 corner 3 in the first half of the game last night. So we had denied the rim and the corner 3. That's pretty great. Let's look at, again, in my jelly brain, I think that says December 12th. My eyes are old and my brain is bad. Yes. December 12th is our reference point. We're on cleaning the glass. So this eliminates blowout minutes from games, which over 4 games might be a little bit of time. Here's what our shot distribution frequency is since going to the zone as a primary or a definitely like a massively impactful defense. We're 7th in the league at denying the rim. So 29th in the league, 29%. We're allowing the 2nd fewest long 2s. Okay, well, that's another reason people don't play zone is because it doesn't actually kind of match up to like the NBA analytics, right? You're clogging the paint, college. We're allowing the 7th fewest amount of mid-range shots. Like Minnesota leads the league right now. I think at 38% of opponent shots are mid-range shots. Philadelphia and Minnesota bounce back and forth because of Embiid. We are 20th in allowing corner 3s. Okay, you're gonna have to live with that a little bit if you're in a zone, particularly if you're in a box and 1. And we're last in the league in allowing above the break 3s. We're 29th in the league in 3-point allowed overall. So the zone, we're giving up the above the break 3 willingly. Not willingly like go shoot it, but those are the gaps in the zone. And the above the break 3 is you're going to give it up. If you can limit the corner 3, which is difficult to do, but we did it last night, and you give up the above the break three and you're not giving up the rim, it's probably going to work out for you. Our location defense is 13th in the NBA. I think it was about 25th before. We'll check that in a second. We don't have anything really unusual going on in opponent shooting, which is something I checked this morning to see, like, is this just a fluke? Sure didn't feel like Keegan Murray went crazy. We're the 9th best team at defending the rim, like shot, right? I just told you we're 7th best in like allowing, the 9th best defending. And we're the 7th best team defending non-corner threes. So we're actually, that could be luck. But teams are shooting the corner three since we've gone to zone heavy at 52%. That can't last. It's pretty interesting. All right, I'll dig more into this as we continue today. We're just getting started, and then we'll talk about Talen and Collin. We're both great last night. Collin's is so efficient. It's something to it. So we'll dig back into that as well on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street. Also located in Logan and in Linden. Saw Blake and his beautiful young 2 kids and his wife last night at the game. The Murdochs just a wonderful family. They've been in Utah for over 80 years, and they want to make sure that you have the no regrets experience that is the signature to the Murdochs. And the Hyundai car, well, I've bought 3 of them, so it's pretty simple to me because the way I looked at it from a math standpoint, I got the best price. Number 2, I got the best vehicles with all the testing, safety, features for what I could get for that money. And 3, I like the way they look. That last one is the piece that really determines whether you like the way they look, because you got to drive something you like or else it's not worth it. But go check it out at Murdoch Hyundai, located in Logan and in Linden and at 4646 South State Street. If you're going to stop by, please email me first, and we'll make sure we get you a VIP experience with by being a Locked On Jazz every day. You certainly deserve that here on Locked On Jazz. Thank you very much to the Murdochs for their long support. It's been a pleasure to be connected to Murdochs and Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. The Game Time app, it's the official app of Locked On, and with the code Locked On NBA, you get $20 off the Christmas present I bought myself. The $20 off was nice, but not a very large percentage. Come on, I'm 53, white dude. I'm going to Vegas and seeing you too, right? Like, of course I am. I have to at some point. So yes, that's my Christmas present. Thank you very much. Browse the Game Time app. Talk about the upcoming events as you have. So you can go do YouTube. You can do it for everything. I'm also looking at a Chris Stapleton, Grace Potter Hollywood Bowl LA event this summer. Since I love Chris Stapleton and Grace Potter, it seems like a really logical thing to do. My wife's from LA. It seems like super fun. All right, that's more about me than you needed to know. Maybe this hat makes me weird. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Here's what I like about the Game Time app. 1, it's just right there. Easy few ticket bumps. 2, all-in-one pricing shown total up front. And 3, buy your tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Plus, you get a view of your seat. It's all on the Game Time app. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you very much to Game Time and to the Murdochs for their support of Locked On. All right, let's continue with this for a second. So shot distribution, like it's good. We just said, if you just want to review that for a second, our location shot defense is 13th in the NBA. Our shot frequency is because we're 7th at the rim at 29%, and we are allowing a ton of threes, 32% on above the break threes, and 42% of threes overall. It's a dangerous way to live. It's not perfect. It's 13th, right? The number 1 shot distribution now in the NBA defensively is Philadelphia. They just don't allow any threes. They have Joel Embiid in the middle, and you go out and fan out to threes. Nick Nurse is taking advantage of it. Oklahoma City, Orlando's the second best, but they do it by just not allowing you to get on the rim. Orlando's the second best at 24% of shots at the rim, and they allow 41% of all shots at 3. So they have the second best shot distribution defensively by doing it the other way. Okay, let's flip this around for a second. And what were we prior to becoming zone heavy? We're not zone only. We're just zone heavy. So it's a little bit of a trick. But prior to December 12th, we were 17th in shot location defense, so not a massive difference. but we were 13th in the league in allowing shots to the rim instead of 7th, and we were 23rd. So we've moved. We're 23rd in threes. So we've moved about 4% of our shots from the rim to above the break threes. That's a good move. That's a good move. That's winning on the edges. That's what you want to do. Here's some interesting numbers. And some of these numbers are a little screwy because not everybody counts possessions the same. We are the only team in the NBA where our zone defense is better than our man. And it's actually getting not close. Using the numbers here, we've played 12.2% of our possessions in zone now for the year. That is now the league high. We're in the 63rd percentile of all zones, which is good. We allow points per possession, 0.95. This is on a different metric than the traditional one. Sorry, just work with me. Because the reference point of comparison is what's going to matter. Our man defense is in the 3rd percentile of all man defenses. Bad. And we're at 1.05. 1.05. If you take the expected shot quality, so you take the stat called synergy shot quality, against the zone defense, it's a 1.09. Against the man, it's a 1.03. So what's interesting about that is that somehow our zone defense has us being much more impactful and we're getting better results. We force a slight bit more turnovers in the zone than we do in the man. We foul much less in the zone than we do in the man. Our shooting fouls were at 8% of all shots in the man, or 4% of all shots in the zone. And obviously, we just talked about what we do with the shots. We allow more threes, but we take away the rim. So it's super interesting. And we're playing it a lot. We've played the number 1, number 2, number 7, and number 8 amount of possessions. It also is hard for people to prepare for in the regular season. So I think it's fascinating. And it's really interesting. And Will's digging in. And the box and 1 is breaking people's will ever so slightly. No pun intended. The box and 1 to me is sort of causing teams to decide they don't really want to partake. It's not quite worth it. Or individuals. Like Mikal Bridges last night was like, really? Like, I'm back to being in like 9th grade in a junior Jazz game where I'm getting box and 1. And you could kind of just see him be like, fine, I'll just go to the corner and I'll let you guys do your thing. And it's pretty interesting to watch that happen. But it certainly changes the mindset. So Mikal Bridges last night goes 4 of 16. He's their best offensive player. Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons just kind of tapped out of that night. Some guys are going to overwhelm this. But one of the things we've talked about on this show a lot for the everydayers is I just think this idea that you're doubling at 45 feet away from the basket all the time is insane. I'd far rather be in a box and 1 and be denying. I just think it's a much smarter defense. This idea that every time Luka Doncic comes across half court, you have to double team him, get the ball out of his hands. And then you're playing 4-on-3 against NBA players, to me, just seems absolutely insane. So frankly, playing a zone where we can deny the ball every time he gives it up or force him to give it up and then deny and hit, which is double, hit and then get out of it into a zone, into a box 1, seems to me to be a lot more logical. Whether it's analytically right or not, I don't know, but it feels a lot more logical to me than this idea of like the kind of what I thought had gotten absurd amount of double teaming that was going on at 45 feet away from the ball, away from the basket. So really, really interesting kind of evolution of where this is all going. Yesterday, we talked about how improvement is important. Well, we are seeing it out of Colin Sexton and Talen Horton-Tucker. Last night, Colin, even on what feels like an inefficient night because he goes 6 of 17, takes 13 free throws. If we go back to points gained on Friday, Colin's like super efficient. It's going to be interesting to see what we do when Jordan comes back because Jordan is one of the least efficient players in the NBA right now. Hopefully he gets it back to being more efficient. He's never been particularly efficient, but he's never been this inefficient either. So hopefully he gets it back when he comes back. But right now, Collin, frankly, is doing a much better job at that position than Jordan did. Because he's scoring at the same rate. He plays this box and one defense fabulously. And he's relentless. He had 6 assists last night. He scored over 20 in 4 straight. And you've really taken away his 2 weaknesses. One is kind of the losing his zest when he has to be a decision maker. And then 2 is his undersized defensively. If he's in a zone, it's not a problem, or not as much of a problem. Teams are going to start to figure out some of these things. Teams are going to have to prepare and come up with, but that's part of the process, is making them figure it out. John Collins, I thought last night in the second half was much better than he was in the first half. First half was really rough. I think he was like -10. He did finish along with Kelly with one of the least good plus minuses of the night, but he just looked almost like he was trying to feel the game instead of play the game. And then the second half, he got back out there. And, we had 8 block shots last night. Walker had 5, Lowry has 1, Ocha has 1, John Collins has 1. And this is where the zone is allowing guys to come in on the backside. Talen was just fabulous. And I talked about it yesterday. I'm not going to get into it again today. I think that the Talen hate is really ill-placed. 27 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals last night. 5 of 7 for 3. He's gone from a 30% catch and shoot 3-point shooter to, I think after last night, he might be up to 40. At least he was at 38 when the night started. Like, that's great work. Sure, his off the bounce 3-point shooting, he still gets off balance. And okay, let the kid develop. He takes a wild shot or 2 a night. Sure, absolutely. No question. But we're seeing growth. And we're seeing growth with a unique body and an incredible skill set on a young kid. He's at 39% now on his catch and shoot. In fact, Colin's at 44% on 63 attempts. Talen's at 39% on 72 attempts. That's really good. Both those guys. Simone's at 39. John Collins is at 41. Lowry's at 39. A lot of this is corner 3. Ochai's at 37. Jordan is at 32. Taylor Hendricks is at 29. Keontae's at 29. Hey, don't misunderstand this next comment, but I want Keontae playing when he's healthy and comes back. But if you're obsessed with wins, I don't know that actually gets you the most wins night in and night out right now. It's where the franchise should do it's the right thing to do. But rookies don't win much. I'm not particularly obsessed with wins on this team. I'm obsessed with improvement, and we've seen that dramatically in the last few games, which is pretty great. All right, let's take a look at our power ranks and that. And as we continue on Tuesday, I always like to kind of just take a quick scan of where everybody else in the league is. It's a good check to see, good reference point for us to see who's building and growing what. We'll look at all those things as well as the time for, we've got a fun little, our Josh Lloyd help you with your fantasy league. Come here with our eBay Motors fantasy pick of the day coming up. Josh Lloyd is the #1 fantasy basketball host in the country. eBay Motors is the guaranteed fit. So they have combined to bring you the eBay Motors guaranteed fit of the day. Josh Lloyd has got players for you to pick this week. Are you ready? Here is his 5 guys. Grayson Allen with Bradley Beal out should get strong minutes and a nice increased usage. James Wiseman. Isaiah Stewart is hurt. Wiseman has produced the last 2 days. Confidence in him is low, but the numbers and opportunity appear to be there. Malachi Branham seems to be set to be the Spurs starter in the short term, at least. Terry Eason is coming off the bench for Houston, and Brandon Podziemski as the Warriors' new starter with Andrew Wiggins coming off the bench. So those are your 5 fantasy picks of the week from the number one fantasy basketball host in the country, Josh Lloyd. And that is your eBay guaranteed fit fantasy pick of the week, because eBay Motors has the guaranteed fit for you for your ride or die. Make sure you're riding smoothly with brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs. eBay Motors has it, and with eBay guaranteed fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride for the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items and exclusions do apply. It's ebaymotors.com for whatever your car might need. And thanks to Josh Lloyd for the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Fantasy eBay Guaranteed Fit. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting platforms, apps. We're switching. Yeah, there's still a tag on this, baby. Okay. You guys are going to have to tell me what victory hat is this year. It can only happen at home. We head to Cleveland today, and then we're going to play Detroit on a 24-game losing streak. It has me a little nervous. Was hoping to avoid this. At least the Spurs lost. I had this bad vision that we were going to play the Pistons on a 24-game losing streak and the Spurs on a 23-game losing streak in like back-to-back, close to back-to-back games. That seemed less than ideal. You never want to be that team. And you never want to be that team that they've like eyed on their schedule and said, oh, well, that's the one we can go get. All right. Let's look at power rankings for a quick second. For those who do not recall how we do this, here's what we've done in the past. We take a quick analytical look at where everybody is, and then we take a look at what the ESPN and the NBA.com power rankings are. So the number one differential team in the league is Philadelphia, though they lost last night because they blew out every Eastern Conference second-ranked team. Boston is 2. Oklahoma City is tied with Minnesota for 3-4. The Clippers are now up to the 5th best differential team in the league. Clippers a legit title contender right now. Kawhi's on fire. They have put this thing together. Denver's at 6, Milwaukee's at 7, and Orlando's at 8. +7 used to be the kind of number you had to live by. There's 4 teams that are +7. Philadelphia, Boston, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota. I'm not sure that that is still true today because of the fact that we're just everything's closer than it was, but we'll see. Very impressive by the Clippers, who have won 8 straight, to be kind of the top kind of, I think, the team that's riding the highest right now when you look at things. All right, let's look at the NBA power rankings. John Schumann, who does wonderful work. It's kind of a must read every week if you want good little notes and nuggets on everything. Cade Cunningham had the minus of the week for -70. The West is destroying the East again this year, 55% winning percentage. All right, Boston, they've got back at number 1. They are 14-4 against the teams that have winning records. That's pretty incredible. Minnesota goes to number 2. They were number 1. So they've moved to number 2. Philadelphia goes to number 3. They won 6 straight games by an average of 27 points. Number 4 is Oklahoma City. So this is matching the numbers a little bit. Oklahoma City split last week in 2 big games. Shea's 3-point shooting kind of disappeared for the week. Denver is 5. Denver feels to me like they're way off, and they're still the 5th best team in the league. It's kind of interesting. And by the way, they're better statistically so far this year at this point than they were at this point last year. I also am a big believer in first quarters. If you actually want to know the best teams in the league, just look at first quarters. They're the 2nd best first quarter team in the league. They're +16 in first quarters. Their bench unit has just been not very good. And Mike Malone believes in playing 5 starters, 4 starters more than anyone else in the league. Milwaukee at 6th. Giannis having obviously a monster run. And then they have the Clippers up from 15th to 7. Sacramento is 8. Dallas 9. Orlando 10. Lakers 11. New Orleans 12. Indiana 13. Cleveland, who we'll see next, at 14. And then injured and fading. We don't have their pick this year. New York at 15. Houston 16. Phoenix all the way down at 17. Brooklyn, who we beat last night, at 18. Miami at 19. Golden State all the way down to 20, Atlanta 21, Chicago 22, Toronto 23, Utah 24. John Schumann always does a good thing, talks about the fact that we're playing a lot of zone. and mentions Colin Sexton with his 3 highest scoring games of the season and 4 straight for 20. Talen, by the way, is on his longest run of consecutive 8 games of double figures in a row. So that's pretty great. ESPN does their power rankings kind of as a collective body of what their group thinks. And their latest, which came out about 5 days ago, so it's off by a little, has Boston 1, Minnesota 2, Philly 3, Bucks 4, Thunder 5, Denver 6, Orlando 7, Lakers all the way up to 8, Indiana 9. Didn't hear Indiana anywhere near in John Schumann's thing. Dallas at 10, Sacramento 11, Knicks 12, Clippers at 13, Phoenix. Clippers going to be like top 5 by the next week. Phoenix at 14, Miami at 15, Cleveland 16, Pelicans 17, Brooklyn 18, Houston at 19, Golden State at 20, Atlanta struggling at 21, Chicago, Toronto, Memphis ahead of us, and then us at 25. So that seems a little universal. It does seem as though everyone's kind of equaled out here of what they think. The question really is, if you break out the tiers, who do you believe is in what tier of championship level? So certainly Boston is in tier 1. Is there anybody else in the East we really believe is in tier 1? Do we really believe Philadelphia's a tier 1, like chance to win it? And then in the West, who do you believe is tier 1? Like Minnesota is certainly the best team in the league. Do you believe that that's the answer? I'd probably have to say yes with the way they're playing. Milwaukee might be tier 1 in people's mind with Giannis and Dame over Philadelphia. And then do we really believe the Thunder? Like we've got so many players in the West that have actually carried their team through a championship and won it in Jokic, LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Durant. It seems to me that you suddenly have these teams with none of them. It's hard for me to suddenly think that they're the team that's going to win it. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. We'll join you from Cleveland tomorrow. Excited to be on the road. So excited to be in Cleveland and Detroit in December. It's going to be awesome. Thanks very much for joining us here on Locked On Jazz. We now will send you to the first ever 24/7 national sports stream, Locked On Sports Today. If you're on YouTube, if not, check it out. Thanks for subscribing and following the show. We greatly appreciate it.